Hello everyone. It is I, Amatus Art, but you can just call me Ama for short. I hope everyone has a lovely day whenever you watch this video. So, this video was supposed to be done and released around Valentine's Day, considering the theme of this drawing, but life got busy and got in the way. So I apologize for that. I will make sure to post more videos, like not every year or so. I want to start posting at least once per week. But anyway, it might have been good that I didn't post this video during the holiday of love and friendship, considering that what I want to talk about in today's video is my experience with 2020, which honestly is everything but lovely or friendly. Oof. But before we dive into this rant, I do want to talk a bit about today's drawings. So, for today's video, I am working on a surprise gift for my boyfriend for Valentine's Day. I once asked him what his favorite couple in Dragon Ball Z was, and my dumb butt realized it was Gohan and Videl. Whoops. Like, I even saved the answer in my notes and everything. Ugh. But anyways, my brain must have gone immediately to Vegeta and Bulma because honestly, even though I never watched much of Dragon Ball Z, I just love their dynamic. Vegeta seems so cold and like he doesn't care, but in reality, he cares a lot about Bulma and his family in general. I still remember the first time I saw a couple of episodes when I was sick and didn't go to school. It was like the one where Future Trunks was around, and I think Goku was asking Trunks who his parents are. Trunks was a little embarrassed but pointed to Bulma. Goku was like, "What? So Yamcha and Bulma ended up together?" Trunks blushes even more and was like, no, Vegeta is actually my dad." Goku proceeds to be even more bamboozled, like, "What? Ain't no way." And I had the same reaction as Goku because I couldn't believe it. As I said, I never fully watched Dragon Ball Z, but knew a little bit of the characters because my brother loved watching it. So to me, Vegeta always seemed like the angry and cold rival to Goku. Vegeta kind of reminded me of Shadow the Hedgehog. So imagine how shocked I was when I learned that he was a father. But based on this other movie that I watched back in high school during anime club, I don't quite remember the name of the movie, but I do remember the scene when the bad guy hits Bulma and Vegeta freaking loses it and screams, "Nobody touches my Bulma!" and goes Super Saiyan right away and starts fighting. That whole line changed something in me. Anyways, even though I had the wrong couple, my boyfriend still loved the gift. So yay for that. If anything, we went to a con back in May 2025 and the voice actor of Vegeta was there and he got my gift signed by the voice actor, so that was pretty neat. So yeah, everything worked out in the end. Yay! Alright, and that was today's section of me rambling about the drawing and going a bit off topic with the drawing itself. Okay, but before we start with today's topic, I will give some warnings. So, a warning, there will be talk about depression and unaliving thoughts and overall mental health problems. If you're not in the proper headspace to hear any of these topics, I suggest skipping this video. Viewer discretion is advised. So, alright, 2020. As we all know, that is the year that the pandemic hit and impacted the lives of everyone around the world. A lot of people were impacted for the worse. Others flaunted their privileges and probably didn't even notice. Personally, it did impact me for the worse, so here we go. I will start actually with December 2019. I remember my first niece was born recently and we were having such a lovely Christmas gathering. And then on New Year's Eve, we cheer and welcome the new decade of the 20s. Everything looks exciting and promising for some reason. I do remember throughout that month, my mom was telling me to be wary of this new virus called COVID-19. I was kind of annoyed, didn't take her as seriously because she was always panicking over anything she saw on the news. So I didn't think twice about it and went back to college to finish my pre last year. I was extra motivated at the start of the semester. I was like, alright, I got 3 more semesters to go till I graduate. Time to get serious. Time to be super social and finesse my networking skills and apply to as many internships as possible to get experience in an animation studio. I just wanted to do well in my classes and have fun hangouts and memories with friends. If anything, I did have a nice event. I went to a Skillet concert, the best one I've gone to yet. Also learned about this opening band called From Ashes to New, and they had dope music, so they are now another band I listen to often. And to think everything would change in a few weeks. So, by the start of March, my mom was panicking and high-key begging me to come back home since the rise of COVID-19 cases was spreading like wildfire. This time I was starting to listen to her more since I was beginning to see the numbers go up in my college town. I was still like, I still have class, I still need to go. But not even a few days later, my school decided to go full virtual classes to keep up with the quarantine period. I'm like, shoot, well, I kind of have no reason to stay in my college town anymore. Especially because, low-key, I had a feeling one of my roommates wasn't really gonna follow the quarantine protocols and still had people come over, so I didn't want to risk that. I do remember the night before I drove back home. I hung out with some of my college best friends, working on projects and saying our goodbyes. We were still being kind of goofy and silly because at the time they said the quarantine period was going to be 1 week, maybe 2 tops. So, in a silly fashion, I remember I told them, "Sayonara, Shadow the Hedgehog," as my goodbye. We all laughed because again, we thought it was gonna be a short while, until it didn't. Everything became a blur after that, but I still tried my best to piece together the timeline. I remember moving back around March 16th, and right away tragedy struck. My oldest brother got COVID right when it was the period. People still didn't know how to treat it, and almost everyone was dying from it. Luckily, we have an uncle who's a doctor who thought quickly and suggested he should take medicine that's usually for anticoagulants. I don't know the science behind it, but that seemed to have saved my brother's life. I still remember though that for 2 weeks we were so nervous. Every night we didn't know he was going to make it. So yeah, that was something that impacted me. I remember basing one of my final projects for my classes on my feelings about it all. Once again, everything went fine, but he does have some long-term issues due to it though. But unfortunately, some family friends did pass away during this time due to COVID. And I had to deal with the constant pressure of being super careful and messed up whenever I did go out for groceries, since I also have another brother with Down syndrome, and I knew that group of people were at high risk of dying if they did get COVID at the beginning. I almost lost one brother. I didn't want to be the reason my other brother passed away. The fights with my parents will also be non-stop since at the time my dad was still in his last couple of months at work before he finally retired. But he will be so careless and forgetful about putting on his face mask or staying away from people at work. My mom will always argue with him about it, and he will always avoid accountability one way or another. Sometimes it felt like he didn't really care about our well being. But well, that's another can of worms I'm not gonna open up today. Another thing that really impacted me during this quarantine period was my friendships. Leaving all my college friends behind made me miss them a lot. I had my friends from my hometown still, but things took a turn for the worse. I'm not going to explain in full detail here since I am planning to make a whole other video explaining the heartache of friendship breakups, if you can call them that. But yeah, to put it simply, at first we would do video group calls to spend time together. But there was this one quote unquote friend who always soured the calls by complaining that she didn't have enough power to actually have the camera on or something like that. She would be the type of person who would purposely ignore you to talk to someone else or straight up rants about how her in real life friends ain't shit on Twitter. When I realized she posted that, I was like, hey, what did we do? And she just proceeds to just say no and ignore me the rest of the call. If I tried to like call her by her name, she completely ignored me. But if someone else called her or referred to her, she would sassily say yes. Everyone felt the tension, to be honest, and when she eventually left the call, we talked about it, how that felt weird and all. Again, we'll go into more details later on another video, but this behavior has been happening for years. It really got worse when I left for college, I feel. My breaking point though was realizing she would complain about how she was over the pandemic and wanted to start hanging out in person again. Everyone was uncomfortable with that at first because keep in mind this was barely like 4 months in of the pandemic. There was still like no vaccine or cure, and many people were still dying on the daily. She was aware of each of our situations, including mine with my brother, but still didn't care. She just wanted to hang out. Eventually, slowly the rest of the group started to hang out in person, except another friend and me. But she would lead everyone to kind of shun us or make us feel like we were such paranoid people for still being in quarantine and staying home. The super last straw for me was that finally, after all of this disregard of COVID-19 regulations and the years of things that happened between us, was seeing her post on social media about how she was spending time by the beach with my abusive ex-boyfriend and his group of friends, all without face masks, all without giving a fuck about the well-being of others other than themselves. All their fakeness and performative justice bullshit. I was tired of it all. This pandemic just helped me take off the badly put bandage I had over my eyes. And how? She was always such a shitty and selfish person that didn't care for others other than herself. I was done. I went through a crisis. I immediately blocked her from all social media. I left the group chat along with the other friend who's still quarantined with me. Everyone else was so confused and tried to ask me what was wrong, why I blocked her, and that she's super sad about it, but I just didn't want anything to do with them anymore at the moment. I just felt super alone in the world in that moment. So alone and helpless and misunderstood. Now, I know that wasn't the best way to go out about it, and I do regret not being able to explain myself to everyone else, but at that moment it was already too late. The toxic friend showed her colors once again by making me the villain first, and essentially making everyone else hate me. So, in the end, I never got the chance to explain myself and lost my only group of friends I had in my hometown. The pain of ending things this way, the isolation, the constant worry of getting my family sick and them dying on me, that certainly took a toll on my mental health. I would struggle to listen to the Zoom lectures for my classes. I would honestly just constantly fall asleep on them. The few duties I had in my clubs, I would cry about the smallest mistake I would make. I honestly didn't know how the heck I graduated. I remember very well, towards New Year's Eve to celebrate 2021, I just didn't have the will to even dress up or wear makeup or anything. I just spent a good amount of time crying on the arms of my mom, saying I just didn't want to exist anymore because I find no reason when everything is so awful and hopeless. It just felt like this pandemic was never going to end and eventually we were all going to succumb to the disease. That's truly how I felt in that moment. My poor parents were so worried about me at the time. I'm just glad they gave me the space and support I needed instead of like going anywhere or being forced to dress up nicely. We just ate dinner. And I remember we watched the animated movie Soul. I don't remember every single detail of the movie, but I do vividly remember how that one sassy soul that couldn't go to Earth yet because they couldn't find a purpose or reason to live, how they finally found that reason by enjoying the simple things in life, such as watching the leaves of autumn fall and blowing the wind, to just enjoying a delicious slice of pizza. That sentiment really struck with me and helped me feel a bit calmer in the moment. Ever since then, I have always tried to remember and enjoy the little things in life. Eventually, by 2021, things got a bit better. The vaccine eventually got created and we took it. I managed to land my first job, and little by little, I started to feel like life ain't so bad after all. Alright, that is the end of my rant, vent, or whatever you want to call it. If you have stayed up to this point of the video, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my experiences during this hard period of time for humanity. I know some topics might have been on the heavier side, so I appreciate you hearing me out. For a long time, it was hard talking about it, but now, years later, I have realized it's not that hard anymore. If anything, it feels like a crazy collective nightmare that slowly but surely faded. But of course, this isn't just about me. You are welcome to vent and talk about your own personal experiences during this time period. Were they both good and bad times? Do you still feel the impacts of it today? You can talk about it in the comments, and I will make sure to read them all. I guess something you can take out of this is that despite it all, we all made it through. We are strong and resilient people who will keep pushing forward, not just this hardship, but whatever other hardships we have in the present or in the future. I just feel like there's always going to be that hope at the end of the day. And that is my attempt at trying to end this video on a lighter note. I will make sure the next video will be a much lighter topic, I promise. And with that, if you have any suggestions on what you want to hear about next, please let me know down in the comments below. Also, any kind of likes and subscriptions on the channel are very much appreciated. Well, hope to see you next time. Bye bye.